Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Physical Challenge Podcast. I'm your host today, Mehdi, and Josh is my co-host today. Josh, how are you doing?
I'm doing really well, thank you. We are talking about what is, in my opinion, the best reality show of all time. So I'm so excited.
Yeah, we're doing something a bit different today. Usually, for this podcast, we take a TV show and we'd watch a couple episodes or something and talk about it. But today, we're going to do a format where we're going to tell you why you should watch this certain reality show. It's great. It's dynamic. It is my favorite reality TV show. We're gonna have fun about it. Before that, though, we're gonna do a bit of recon of what we watched this week, any of the reality news as such. So, Josh, what do you think about the Big Brother Canada announcement that there'll be no live feeds in these digital dailies?
This is horrific. Big Brother is one of the best reality television viewing experiences that exist. But this is the case because of the live feeds. Like, if we're being real, Big Brother, the end of the show, isn't very good. Like, it's not been good for years. But the feeds have always been engaging. Being able to see in real time what's been happening, that is the draw for this show. That is what gets me hooked each year. Without live feeds, this is just... It's not a strong show because you're waiting 3 episodes to watch somebody go home. There's a lot of filler in these episodes. These digital dailies are probably going to be filler content of things that aren't going to have any impact on the game, because otherwise that would spoil what's going to happen in the show. I think this is all dreadful.
Well, Big Brother Canada as a show, as a TV product, has been horrific since Big Brother Canada 6. Mostly because, remember, initially when it got canceled, it didn't have enough sponsorships. And then it comes back in Big Brother Canada 6, and then we get all these Wendy's, and we get all this stuff in this episode. So half the episode is just a bunch of promotion. And, like, now, and like the only way people actually watch the game is through the live feeds. And now, like, that's just distorted. It's even Big Brother US proper shows more of what happens in the game than Big Brother Canada. So, like, this is like, I think this is catastrophic for them. I really don't think they're gonna like push through after this. I do think this would probably be the last season of Big Brother Canada. I don't want to be like that dude, but like it just sounds like they cut the wrong thing. It must be some sort of budget issue, but they cut the wrong thing. Like it is crazy. Like Big Brother without like is that Big Brother or is that just like it doesn't like compute to me, to be honest.
The problem here is that the social media buzz is not going to be there. Big Brother gets more social media attention than pretty much any show because people are constantly tweeting about that show 24/7. The hashtag is always active at any time of the day. Even like shows like Survivor's got a very loyal online fan base. They only get like that once a week hit when the show is actually on television. Big Brother is constant. Like in Big Brother US, there was like things like it was like the most viewed show online pretty much of the year or something like that. I don't remember the exact statistic it was, but it was huge because of the live feeds. Now, granted, in Big Brother US, they've got the draw of Paramount Plus, where people subscribe to watch the live feeds. I know of plenty of people that will subscribe to Paramount Plus for that 3-month block solely for the live feeds. They don't care about anything else that's on there. Big Brother Canada has always done free feeds. Now, the thing is with that, people would pay to watch live feeds. People would be willing to pay the money it costs to sit and watch feeds if there are better feeds. The problem Big Brother Canada has always had is their feeds have always not been as consistent as BBS. They're more comfortable taking their feeds down for longer blocks of time, but that's because they are free.
Yeah, I get that, but example, if it is like a budget issue, you're right. If they just start charging like the US, but the thing is, Big Brother, like from a Canadian standpoint, as in Canada, I don't see much people talking about it. Like it's a very niche thing in terms of like fandom and to even watch Big Brother. Like more people will be watching a Big Brother like Fast and Big Brother. They're going to talk about the US version. Barely anyone I know in terms of people in my real life talk about Big Brother Canada. So it's still like a very niche show other on like than on the internet. So I can get why like it's not popular like on cable or anything. But
that partially to do with the time of year? Because Big Brother US is designed to be a summer show, and it fits quite well into the summer schedule when they're trying to fill slots. And this type of show is maybe the type of thing that wants to be watched. Is that something to do with it? Maybe I'm unsure.
Well, it's March, right? So like it usually comes out in March, and then like I feel like at that time, like most people are probably not. You would think they'd be watching TV more because it's so cold around here, and like people would be watching it less in the summer because they have more free time to actually do other things. But no, I just think like in general, TV is falling, like viewership's falling down, and like people have less time to watch stuff, so they're just going to pick and choose what they watch. And like when you look at Big Brother, like Big Brother in general, Big Brother Canada, it's kind of like wonky, and there's like a lot of, and like in the actual Big Brother Canada show, you barely see what happens. So it's like I'm just watching like a glorified ad for 20 minutes and then maybe 20 minutes of strategy. So it's like it's a hard product to pitch someone on, especially someone new to watch the show, because they're gonna be like, well, what am I watching? You're getting me to watch an ad here. It's kind of a waste of my time.
So I don't know global television that much. Is most of Global's content Canadian stuff, or do they have a lot of international stuff? Because I know they need to have the quota in terms of a certain amount of Canadian television. So is 3 episodes of this a week quite useful for them to be able to hit their quota?
I think global, they do have a lot of like I'm looking at the record right now. They don't even have that many Canadian purely Canadian produced shows. It's mostly stuff that they got from CBS or other, like that's where I like watch Survivor usually. It's on Global TV, but they just get they like get all this stuff like Tough as Nails, Young and the Restless. It's all stuff that basically premieres on like CBS. There's our actual like network that produces Canadian content would mostly be like the CBC, and they produce mostly the Canadian content. So Big Brother Canada is kind of an outlier because like all this stuff, 911, 48 hours, 60 minutes, it's just all stuff you got from other networks. These are global produced shows.
Okay. So Big Brother Canada is helping them getting more Canadian stuff on there. So I guess that helps the show be protected in some way.
Yeah, I could see be protected in some way. Yeah, because they are the only like things. It shouldn't be that expensive to produce. So that's the thing. Like, how expensive do Big Brother should like to produce? It shouldn't be like insane. So I don't know.
It's a pretty cheap show. Even in terms of reality shows, I imagine it's one of the cheaper ones.
They don't even have to change the like. I know they're like, oh, new house. Don't even change the house. You know how like Survivor has one island? Just don't change the house. We're like here to watch people play. I don't care about the decor.
As long as those feeds are on, I'll watch anything.
Exactly. Oh, yeah, no, I was very upset. What do you think about the cast drop? Because the cast also dropped yesterday, and then people, because people right when they announced the feeds weren't going to happen, people are like, oh, I'm not watching this. This is canceled. And then 5 seconds later, the cast drops, and I was like, ooh, maybe I am watching this. I don't know.
So for context for anyone that doesn't know, so Mehdi and I, and Eddie all come from this online community of games of people that play online reality shows, and someone from that community, Dan, is on the cast. So Dan is someone that has been I think there's a Dan and a Daniel on this cast, so this is Daniel, I think, if I remember correctly.
I think so, yeah.
So he is someone that's been quite active in the community. He last played the game a couple of weeks ago. So like he's been playing games up until very recently. I think I've like maybe even ended up in the game with him once. I'm not close with him. I'm not going to claim that. But I mean, it's nice to see someone from this community. It's also nice to see someone from this community that's like not questionable, because this is not the first time we've had people in the mini community play on reality shows, but all the previous instances I've definitely rolled my eyes when I've seen them. So I'm happy to see someone that's like not awful on get a shot. So good to him.
Can I have a small rant about the Big Brother Canada cast?
Yes.
Like it's a quite diverse cast, but my thing with it is there's not diversity in terms of where the people are from. So like you go through the bios, see where everyone's from. Man, I get the so just to give you a little insight on Canada. So Canada, Ontario is the biggest province, and it does have the biggest population overall. So I would assume that a lot of people would be coming from there. Like more than 70% of the cast is from Ontario. So it's like, oh, I mean, you guys do have different experiences, but it's still frustrating to see from someone outside of that area to be like, oh, we only have one person from my city, for example, and I just oh, it's diversity in a way, like diverse casting in terms of of race and stuff. But it's like I would like to probably see more diversity in terms of like where people live now, because like regardless of what people say, like people are way different in different regions of the country, especially when sorry.
Is it kind of like when in like US reality shows you see there's a lot of people that's from Los Angeles? Is it kind of like that?
Yes. It's from not a lot of people in this cast are actually from the big metro cities, but like they're around there. So like, yeah, it's like that basically. It's like everyone's from, or if you see a cast and like most people are from the East Coast or most people from the West Coast, like it's not like it's not spread out at all.
Mm-hmm. But some British reality shows sometimes have this problem. Drag Race UK tends to sometimes have an issue where over half the cast all come just from London sometimes. And you're right, it means that there's only a certain amount of experience you're going to get from those people, because the experience of like a black person living in London and a black person living in Wales, for example, are two drastically different things. And sometimes the location that you live in can have a more drastic impact on the things you experience than other things. So if everyone's coming from the same place, their life experiences are going to be very, very similar because they exist in similar circles. And then that doesn't create interesting conversations.
Well, that's what I like, because like usually, honestly, people on the different sides of the country, especially, we have different ideals on like not just politically, but just like how they've experienced stuff happening. And I'm like, that's a lot of like those dynamics also like weave into like better gameplay, more drama, which I like to see. I like to see conflict. So, but other than that, I think, what do you think? Did you think it was a good cast? Did you see it?
I mean, I looked at the pictures. It's a nice cast visually in terms of a lot of them look very different to each other. There's a few that look the same, but visually it just looks quite nice. It's not like, it doesn't look too generic a cast, which is always good. I think when you first see a group of people on a reality show, I think Big Brother and like the teens had this problem. You would look at a group of people and they just looked like a just very ordinary group of people. These seem like people that are not that they're not normal, but they're like we're saying, like a diverse, big range of people. It's just a shame they're from the same city, like you were saying.
So on that note, I was gonna ask you, how do you think they're gonna like portray? What are these digital dailies? They're like, are they gonna give us like 15-minute clips of like a day? Like I'm kind of interested in how they're gonna like do this.
So my mentality, so Big Brother UK did something like this for a bit. So for context, Big Brother UK is a show which aired episodes every single day. But because you was just watching these people's lives and just what the drama that occurred, and you weren't focused on the gameplay, the lack of live feeds wasn't a problem for me. I know it was for other people. You would sometimes get like these 2 or so minute clips that drop sporadically throughout the day. You'd get about like 5 or 6 a day. Some of them things that would appear in the main show and some that wouldn't. I think these to me are just filler content. I don't think they're going to be anything too exciting. Again, they're not going to reveal anything going on in the game simply because what's the point of people watching the episodes then? They're not going to give away stuff that you would learn within an episode. We're not going to find out who the HOH is through it. We're not going to find out who wins the veto or any kind of strategy surrounding it. If we do, we wouldn't get that until like maybe literally on the Thursday, or maybe retrospectively we'll see things. I don't know how they're going to tackle this.
You know what I just thought? I think another way why they're doing this is because a way to boost the television ratings is to, like, let's say they do make a better television product. Okay, you want to know what's happening in this game? Watch the TV show. It's basically kind of like incentivizing people like that skip the TV product and just watch feeds to watch the TV show if they want to know what's happening. And I guess that will boost your ratings, but that's like kind of like isolating a lot of your audience. But I was thinking that was another thing that's why they did it, because I was like, okay, if TV ratings aren't doing good, we're not doing that good. Okay, you guys want to watch the show? You got to watch the show. That's the only way you're going to know what's going on.
Well, especially if you think about the way that Big Brother Canada does their show, they love not revealing the HOH till the following episode. Like, it is rare that we actually finish an HOH competition during the episodes. I'm not waiting 5 days to see who's the new head of household. I'm not waiting until Tuesday, because they're doing Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday this year. I'm not waiting 5 days to find out who the HOH is. At the very least, if they're going to do something like this, the HOHs, we need to be finding out who that HOH is immediately. And you're more likely to get people discussing online what they think is going to happen if you know who the HOH is. Because then people can think, oh, this person's going to go on the block. If we don't know who's in power, we've got nothing to work with.
Yeah, well, the permutations of stuff that could be happening is insane. So like, it's just like if you're talking about it, it's going to be not a talk. You're not going to like know it. Like you're just it's you're not going to know anything. So it's really weird to discuss what could happen next. Yeah, and the speculation's half the fun of Big Brother. Oh, this person wins HOH. This is going to happen. This person wins HOH. This could happen. But like you're removing that element, so you're moving the fun for the fans, which is this decision's just it baffles me the more we talk about it. To be honest with you, but.
I mean, good luck to them. Like, I don't necessarily want Big Brother Canada to be cancelled. I want it to survive, but I want there to be some way of them seeing. I want this to be worse than them having feeds. That's what I need to happen here.
Yeah, just that it's bad, but not bad enough where the show gets canned.
Good enough for them to see. They need to put those feeds back on because. The fans were one of the major reasons why Big Brother Canada got saved the first time. If Big Brother Canada gets in that state again, the fans are not speaking up to save the show after this fees cancellation.
Okay, that's enough with the Big Brother Canada talk. I think we can start talking about our main topic today. Today we're talking about why you should watch the Korean reality show called The Genius. The Genius is a Korean reality show that involves challenges of deduction, memory, and strategy, as well as psychological warfare. The people can in these challenges, people can either win as an individual or as a team. Depending how many people win, an advantage will be given to the person to the next round. Those advantages are in the form of the in-game currency called garnets, and you can use garnets within each game to either buy yourself a little hint, or you could keep them and use them for later in the game or in the death match. And anyone that loses the game for that episode will have to face a penalty. Usually the person that's the worst, they'd be thrown into the death match. And then the person that decides who plays them are usually the people who wins. So you think that's an adept description of The Genius?
Yeah, I think that covers most of it. I think so. To clarify, so we've got main matches for which everyone plays, and then death matches which are head to head. So one person's going to lose the main match, and what's interesting, if there's multiple losers, the winners get to choose who becomes that sole loser, and the loser can then pick anyone they want to go against. So it creates this interesting circumstance of when you're playing against people. I've got to not come last, but I also need the person who comes last to like me enough to not pick me, or I need to come first, so it's not a problem.
Isn't there a thing where, like, if the person that loses, like, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't there a thing where if the person, they might have I think it actually fluctuates depending on the challenge, where the person that's last just automatically goes into the death match?
Yes. So the person's last goes into the death match. In the event of a tie, though, so if, like, multiple people tie for last, then the winners of the match get to decide which of those losers is named as the sole loser.
Oh, okay, yeah. I forgot about that little wrinkle. That's fun. So, this is a Korean game show. I think it got popularized around 2012 to 2015. It aired. Yes. It had about 4 seasons. The cast is made up of like different like comedians, professional gamers, news anchors, politicians. Like it's a cast that's pretty widespread, and like it's entertaining to see because I like from perspective of the West, like I don't know how, like what these people hold in like their place in Korea, like how they're seen. So, but seeing them on my screen, it showed the difference between like how like let's say they're like D-list celebrities, how they would interact with each other on TV, opposed to like how our D-list celebrities act on TV, which is just like, you know what I mean? The dichotomy in terms of like how they, like example for like Big Brother UK, like what would you say the celebrity of Big Brother UK is? Well, like Z-list?
The caliber of celebrity you can go to Big Brother UK. I think it varies. I think in like the old school Big Brother UK, they got like some like people, I would say, like you'd get like one maybe B-lister, I would say. Like you would get like a LaToya Jackson or a Jermaine Jackson on a season. Like you would get like the least relevant and famous of something very famous.
Well, I think that's why the casting of this show is similar to that. Like, because when you look at like the intros, they show you the intros of this show, and they show you some people will have more bombastic intros, like, "Oh, I used to be a musician, like a famous musician back in the day," and then someone will be like, "Oh, I'm a student." So it's like there's the dichotomy there. So I think that's like, what do you think of the casting?
I think the casting is very well done. They cast people who there's always a justification for why they're there. But it's like because there's the show likes to promote the idea of there's more than one way to be intelligent. Because I think this is pretty much one of very few shows that shows an idea of intelligence that's not just being good at trivia and quizzes. I know here in the UK, most shows are based on how smart you are all based on trivia. So the show is about whose mindset is going to be able to get them out of these tricky scenarios to get them to the end. And the show will justify why all these different people have some kind of claim to be there, which is nice. I think that there's no one there that's totally filler. There's no one that's just like, oh, we've got a filler slot, they're going to be there. Everyone feels justified. There's don't get me wrong, there's more people that are more exciting than others, but there's no one that you just look at and just think they shouldn't be here.
Yeah, so I agree fully. The casting for the show, let's just look at the first season. It was about 13 people. So the cast isn't a huge cast. And I think that really adds to the show. You get to know them more. And then, like, because you know them more, you're more connected with them. And I think it brings a better product. Like, I like initially when you first watch the show, it's kind of confusing to just figure out who everyone is, like, what did they used to do, like, how they were connected before. But like once you get in there, you'll like understand the dynamics. And like Korean, this is my first like dabble into Korean TV, and it was odd to just see how they interact and like I guess like their mannerisms and stuff, because like they're very polite people. Like they have this prefix for senior and junior, so you'll hear that a lot. But like I don't know, I thought it's a fun little dynamic. Let's hop into talking about what the main match is. So we explained before that the main match is usually like the basic premise of each episode. So they'll get all 13 people to walk in. Let's just say it's the first episode, and they'll give them a game. The game can be won by teams, or the game could be won by an individual, depending on what the game is that week. Everyone starts with one garnet, which is like equivalent to like, I think it's equivalent to like $1,000.
So in Korean terms, I believe it's a million South Korean won per garnet.
I think that roughs out to like $1,000. It's around there. So
I think something like that. Yeah, roughly.
Yeah. So they each get one of that in the game to start, and throughout these games, they can earn garnets without even winning the main match. That's correct, right? That's happened before, where you can earn a garnet without winning the main match.
Yeah, so in each game there's like a payout structure. So in some games it might be for every 3 points you score, you will earn X number of garnets. Or first place will get this number of garnets, second place will get this number of garnets. Or there's objectives you can earn to obtain garnets. The game will always outline the ways to obtain them. Every game has some form of garnet reward involved in it, even if it's just garnets for the winner.
Here, I'll get. We for this podcast, we picked out one of the main matches just to like go through it, talk about it a little bit. It might intrigue some of the audience of how it's structured, because it's similar to some of the games you've probably heard of before, but it does a little twist with it to to change it up a little bit. So the game we're going to be talking about today is the zombie game. So this is how the zombie game works. So you'll have okay, for example, in this episode there's 10 players remaining. This was episode 4 of season 1. Just a heads up, no one wants to get too spoiled on the rules of this game. It's not that big of a deal, I think. So there's 10 players in this game. There are 8 human players and there's 2 zombie players. Each player knows whether they're a zombie or a human. But they won't know what anyone else is to start the game. The game's structured in this way. There'll be 3 30-minute rounds. Within each round, each player has to touch another player. It doesn't matter. I think they say they can touch. Can they touch multiple players? I don't think they can touch multiple players. You can touch one player within that 3 30-minute rounds.
So they are permitted to touch multiple players. However, but they can only touch each player once per in the match. So if you touch somebody in round 1, you can't touch them again in round 2 or 3.
So it's like locked in. So once you touch someone, you can't touch them in. Okay, sorry, I forgot that little tidbit. But yeah. So they have to touch a player by the end of the round. Okay, so and then the touch goes as follows. So in the Genius house, there are multiple different rooms. There's like kind of like a I don't know how you explain, like a cellar room. There's a room with like a bunch of like kind of like a living room. There's like I think there's like 2 or 3 living rooms, and there's just a big open area where there's the big TV where the host gives you the information, and then they have these people walking around. How would you explain what they are? They're
Are you talking about the dealers?
The dealers, that's their name, yeah. There's the dealers that you can ask for clarifications on stuff, or you can exchange your garnets for a hint. So basically, in the middle, you're going to have 2 people have to touch each other, and they have to touch it at the prepared table. So they agree to touch each other, and then they will go in, and then they'll make that touch in front of the dealer to confirm that happened. So how the game goes is when the 2 zombies touch, like nothing will happen. Like nothing will happen, but like no one will know like that the 2 like zombies, like unless they confirm who touched 2 each round, they're not going to know if they did that. They said when a human touches a zombie, the human turns into a zombie. When 2 humans touch, they earn a point. So yeah, this game it's very intricate because once one zombie intercepts one of your like alliance, let's say you have an alliance of 5. Let's say one zombie intercepts your alliance of 5. You're going to keep on trying to keep alternating who you're touching within that alliance of 5. And because you do that, you're going to all be turned to zombies because the objective of the game is for the zombie to turn everyone that's human into a zombie. And the humans are just trying to last those 3 30-minute rounds. Is it with the majority, or do they have to get everyone the zombie? I'm sorry.
So the win conditions for the game are for winners and losers. So at the end of the game, the human with the most points is crowned the winner of the match, or humans, while the human or humans with the least points is named as the loser of the match. And then if everyone is turned into a zombie, so if the whole cast becomes zombies, then the 2 initial zombies are crowned winners of the match.
Ooh, okay, yeah, thank you for that clarification. I forgot about that little point. Here's another little tidbit. When each round ends, they will reveal the number of zombies and humans, but they will not reveal who is who. So like you'll just know the numbers. So if you know that, like, it kind of helps out. So if you know that the numbers haven't changed, you know that 2 zombies touched. If you know that the numbers have changed, you know the zombies have intercepted you, and you have to be more careful of like who touched who and kind of work around that. And each player has 1 cure. You can use a cure. The cure basically makes you a human. And wait, sorry, just let me read this a bit. Clarification.
Yeah, so in the zombie game, if you take a cure within 10 minutes of touching a zombie, then it turns you back into being a human.
Yeah, and but the thing with that is that adds such a wrinkle to the dynamics because technically they say everyone has a cure, right? So the zombie can do the same action as in like, oh, I'm gonna take the cure, and then they're a zombie, doesn't matter, and everyone's like, oh, he's clear, he had the cure, it's okay, and then they'll touch him again. So that's another like intricate way to like move the strategy in that direction. Also, there's an implication in this game that like because this is episode 4, certain players would have accumulated a certain amount of garnets, and you can buy additional cures for 5 garnets each, which is still a pretty hefty price. Because just a quick tidbit, how the structure of this game works is that like your objective of the game is to collect as much garnets as you have for the final death match in the final episode. So while this would help you in this individual game, it's a big hit to take like in just one main match. What do you think about that, Josh?
Yeah, it's quite a lot. So at this point in the game, there wasn't that many garnets in play. Not everybody could afford. Am I going to spend my garnets or am I not? And deciding when to best utilize them is difficult because, one, you're handing over real cash because the winner of the game wins the garnets that they are possessing at the end of the game. So that's 5 million won you're spending on this little bottle of fluid, which I imagine as a player is quite difficult to get over. But it's also this knowing of that's 5 garnets you could utilize later on in the game as well. Also, garnets are sometimes utilized within death matches, so they can help you potentially in a death match, depending on the format there.
Let's just delve into that. The garnets are basically the prize money at the end, real quick. So like that's what I kind of really like about this show is that the cast will decide how much the prize pool is by their gameplay. There isn't just a standard prize where someone's like, okay, we win this. It doesn't matter what we do throughout the game. We decide the prize pool. So like we're trying to like actively avoid using as much garnets as possible, but you also want to stay in the game and don't be in the death match. So what do you think about that?
I think it's brilliant, and it's one of the best things this show had. This show's got a lot of great things, but it is one of the strongest format points because it gives people something more than their words. So something you see in reality shows is someone will make a promise, but a promise, what does that mean realistically? You can claim you're going to do whatever, but there's nothing to back it up. Here, you can put your money where your mouth is and say, okay, no, we're going to make a deal. You're going to do this in exchange. I'm going to give you this physical thing that I've got. It means you're not just having to make promises in the future. It means you've got a tangible thing to make an offer with. And you see in like Survivor, like, oh, I've got an item or advantage I can give you. This is more of a tiered system. I've got 5 garnets. I'll give you 2 maybe, and then the person come back and try and barter with you to try and come to some form of agreement, which I think just makes the game so interesting. And because these garnets have these several different uses, different people are going to view them differently. Some people just care about the money, but some people are going to care about the power that they can bring.
Yeah, I just like it just adds such a different dynamic. Like literally gives every player some sort of leverage. So even if you're someone that's like let's say you're getting isolated out of a certain main match, if you put your money where your mouth is and just offer garnets, you could basically kind of buy yourself into the game. Like you're giving yourself an extra chance to not get isolated, to like actually like make, especially for the zombies here. In this situation, as a zombie, if I'm getting shut out a little bit, offering garnets just to touch one of the people, but then they'll take the cure. But that's the thing, yeah. That's just the cool dynamic of it. It's like you can take that deal, but I'm just going to take the cure. So like, there's no point of the deal. So I think this is a great main match. What do you think about this main match?
I think it's a good main match. It happens in season 1. I think it's the perfect time for it. I think if you do this main match beyond season 1, it wouldn't have worked. But this is a match that I've watched recently, and I think that it works very well and it plays out quite well. I think in the context of the season, it introduced a new level of what the Genius can be, which is always great. And you see that a lot of season 1, where a lot of the episodes, especially in the first 4 or 5, each episode is showing, okay, this is how good this show can be. This is the levels of strategy this show can hit. And I think this particular main match very well demonstrates a new element of what the show could be.
Yeah, no, I agree with you completely. I would like to talk a bit about like the television product in terms of the flashback feature. Would you like to extrapolate a bit on like how they edit the show?
So Korean reality shows in general are very well edited. If you've seen shows like Physical 100 or any other shows that have happened recently in the reality show realm, you've got like some of these types of ideas that shows will edit creatively. The Genius does an especially good job at the idea of a flash forward and a flashback. So in a lot of episodes of The Genius, quite early on in the episode, they'll flash forward to like a moment. But you won't see the whole thing, just a moment. So in this episode, for example, it's someone running around frantically asking for something. I won't say what. But then you're spending the whole game wondering, how are we going to reach this moment? Or in another episode, it's someone crying and you're like, what's going to bring them to tears? You're spending the episodes figuring things out and they'll flash forward. Or you'll see a match play out and you think you know what's going to happen, and then it's a complete 180 of what you expect. The show will then flash back and spend a few minutes explaining, no, this is what was going on behind the scenes that you didn't get to see, and that's how we got to this outcome. So The Genius has a great way of making sure that at the end of an episode, everything makes sense. You finish every episode knowing what's just happened, but sometimes you're left in the dark and left wondering throughout the episode. It lets you guess along with the plays, which makes it super, super fun as a viewing experience.
That's what I like. Other shows have tried this. So in Survivor, they've tried like as early as Survivor 41 with Nasir finding the idol. Oh, sorry, spoilers for Survivor 41, but the way they found the idol, where he just started saying the phrase and they flashback. So I think that's a little bit of a taste of what this show has to hold. But in this show, it shows you stuff that's usually more substantial.
Yeah, like another good example, if you think of like idol in Survivor Micronesia, when we don't get to see someone having the idol, like there's elements of that the show is good of, where they will just hide things from you. I think other shows could benefit from it. The Genius just then elevates it that one step further, which is great.
Yeah, they do it great. It's honestly this I can't stop like I love this show. I haven't watched it in a couple years, I'd say, but in terms of like the editing of a show, it's very smooth. It's very like you don't they everything you need to know they often tell you. There isn't like you don't have to read in between the lines in terms of like what actually happens on the show in terms of other edited products. Like for example, like on Survivor, sometimes you have to read the edit a little bit to see like understand kind of what's happening. But like to a normal viewer, I think this show is very like understandable. They've lay out and within every episode they lay out the rules of the main match very clearly on the screen, written for you to just understand how it works. So you maybe can take like a shot of that or like a picture of that just to be like, okay, these are the rules of the match. So when stuff's happening, I can actually follow what's going on instead of getting a bit confused.
They always break it down into like the key 3 steps. So like this. They give you like a very clear outline of this is the basic levels of how this game works after an in-depth explanation. So you've at least got the fundamentals down.
What I like about it is because we hear the explanation as if we were players. So because if we hear that explanation, so like, okay, you can kind of put yourself in that scenario where like, okay, if I'm a player, I got all this information. It's still a bit like it's a lot of information to process, but like as a viewer, because I'm only here for entertainment and I'm not trying to win anything, they lay it out like point format really like helps the viewing experience.
And then you're watching the players try and figure out how this game works and how they can game it to be in their favor.
Yeah, this is I want to talk a little bit about like because there's been a foreign version of this show, and
yes, have you seen The Genius Netherlands?
I have not seen it yet. No.
So The Genius Netherlands. So this aired last year. I was podcasting about The Genius Netherlands when it happened. So I was watching the episodes quite in depth, and it was good. The best way I can phrase it as, it was amazing if you don't compare it to the original. It wasn't as good as the original, and I don't think it was ever going to be, because I think Korean reality shows have certain editing tricks that most other places don't use. The Netherlands episodes were also shorter, because their episodes were like your more standard, like 45-minute episode, whereas the Korean version, every episode is over an hour in like real time, ignoring adverts. You get a good amount of time with people. I think the good thing about The Genius Netherlands, I think if The Genius seems like an intimidating show, I think The Genius Netherlands is easier to get into because it's a smaller cast, it's a shorter season. I think it's all still on YouTube, and the episodes are shorter as well. So I think if you're wanting like an ease into The Genius, I think The Genius Netherlands is a good solid first step.
We still recommend to watch the original show in terms of actual. Yeah, but if you do want to have a smaller dose, because like I understand with The Genius, it's a time commitment. Every episode is above an hour. You have to commit, and because it's a subtitled show, I don't know Korean, so I have to read the subtitles, and that also takes a lot of energy and brain power. But it's worth the time. It's worth the investment. This show will hook you. You're going to be wondering why they didn't make more seasons after you watch this show. Let's move on to the death match. So the death match is usually between. It can happen one of two ways, because we've talked about it before. So usually there's a circumstance where the person that loses the main match, like the sole loser, will go into the death match, and the people that won, the person who had lost would go into the death match, and then they will pick their death match opponent. They cannot pick anyone, usually, who wins. They'll get this like safety like
a token of life.
Yeah, token of life. Sorry, that's usually what they get. Mm-hmm. So they can pick any other player to go into the death match. And there's
just briefly on the tokens of life as well, with how that works. So if multiple people win the match, they will get a token of life. If only one person wins, they have a token of life, and they will choose a second person to have a token of life. So you'll always have at least 2 people that are off the table that can't be chosen.
Yeah, I forgot about that dynamic where you can choose someone. That adds another like wrinkle into the strategy because if someone like inherently, this is another bargaining piece. People can be like, okay, I'll help you win this main match as long as that you give me the token of life. Give me the safety, and I'll help you win the main match.
Exactly. It's so there's so many different levels and ways to play it, and it makes it hard to form a big alliance. Because if you're in an alliance of 3 or more people, unless you can get a draw, one of you is going to be vulnerable to be picked.
What do you think about the? I know in other matches they'll have a thing where like, okay, it'll just be the person who won. If there's a tie, he'll pick who goes into the death match. What do you think of the person in the death match actually getting to pick their opponent? I think that's very intricate. It goes against the grain. So if there's a huge alliance, this person, like as an individual, like, okay, I'll just take out your alliance one by one. Not all you can be safe all the time, right?
I think it's a crucial aspect of why this show works because it makes forming it scares you from just forming a big majority alliance because if a season has 2 alliances, for example, it's very easy for each deathmatch be just between the 2 alliances. So it kind of forces you to play more selfishly to try and make sure that you're the one protected. It breaks up what could otherwise be a monotonous gameplay.
Well, each game dynamic, it's so fluid. So even in the death matches are they'll usually do a death match and then everyone will put up the garnets they have. So for example, if me and Josh were in a death match, I had 2 and he had 3, we'd be playing for 5 garnets in total. So coming out of the death match, someone's gonna go in with an advantage. I have 5 garnets now. Like I was the worst at this main match, but I'm still coming back, and I'm coming back with like currency. So like, and another cool dynamic is that some death matches you can ask like if you're in an alliance, you can ask another player for the garnets to have an advantage in the death match. So like the death match we're going to talk about today is Indian poker. And Josh, do you want to explain Indian poker? You know?
Sure. So in Indian poker, to begin, each player can trade in their garnets for chips. Each garnet you have is worth 5 chips. And at the end of the match, whoever wins, all the chips they hold are converted back into garnets. So you can borrow garnets from people. There is a deck of cards that has 20 cards within it, 2 cards of each numbered 1 through 10. Each player is dealt a card which they hold up to their forehead. So you know your opponent's card, but not your own. And then they play normal betting style where you put up your 1 chip ante and you can either raise the bet, you can call the bet to reveal, or you can choose to fold. Whoever has the best hand takes all the chips on the table. But if you fold in possession of a 10, you have to pay a 10 chip penalty to your opponent. The match keeps going until one person wins. Winner of the match stays in the game. The loser of the match is eliminated.
This is another thing. This is specifically a main match where having more garnets is more beneficial. You have more lead room, like to actually bet and be a little bit more liberal with your betting. So like this is another dynamic. So like example, like let's say you do have like a sort of like mini alliance. If you make someone feel bad enough, you can get their garnets and return them the garnet later. But like it's just like this is a game where having a lot of friends is really beneficial. Like to actually playing this death match.
And this is something you'll see on the show a lot, where like having friends is of benefit in death matches. Now, I love the genius, but I'm also willing to be critical. I think one of the few flaws you see in the show is that sometimes death matches having friends is critical. You'll see this in the first episodes of the shows. Season 1 I do enjoy, but the death matches are sometimes a bit shaky. And some death matches, if people want you to lose, you're going to lose. And I think that is one of the flaws of the show. I think it's probably the one huge flaw that I don't love. It's something that they get better with as the franchise continues, thankfully. But sometimes you will see that if someone has a lot of friends, they are much.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. But the one fun thing that that I like with that is that like it kind of creates like a like it is annoying, but like it creates an underdog, but it creates like it's like an overwhelming underdog. So like kind of like okay, you've created something where like I want to see this person like go against the majority and basically like just upset the apple cart a bit. So and this game I think while you do like in I'd say in Korean culture, uh, although like okay, we'll have friends. They usually will even it out a bit. Like they're not too harsh in terms of like they won't be like unless that person usually hasn't like already like hasn't maintained an unfair advantage in terms of garnets. Someone will be like, okay, like I'll lend you this because like I want it to be more of a fair match, and I would want to go against the majority. So I think it evens itself out in a way. I do agree. In the first season, it. I think it's worse with different death matches. This one, I don't think as much.
I would agree. This death match isn't the one that I'm thinking of when I say that. I think you'll see games like the first one in season 1 is very lopsided in terms of structure, and I think there are other matches that have that, but those do get phased out. I think Indian poker is a good balance between having friends helps you, but it's not the be all and end all.
The thing with the death matches, the dichotomy with them is that either can be like really, really like entertaining, or they can be very dull. Because some death matches, they'll usually go through. If it goes long, they'll kind of go through like a montage of like what happens, which I don't mind because like we don't have to see every little bet that happens. But like,
are you thinking about Tactical and Yutnori?
yeah, I am. I want to understand technically Nori, but I still don't get it, and I've watched the show like 3 times. So, and that's a common death match. So if that death match comes up and you guys aren't feeling it, you can like it's not that long. You'll get what happens. Like you'll kind of get like the premise at the end, but like it's not something you can really follow along with. Like something like Indian poker. What do you think of Tactical Nori? It's a very popular death match too.
So I appear on a podcast which we talk about the Genius very in depth, and we've discussed Tactical Yutnori in depth, and it's just I really want to like it. It's because if I played and understood Yutnori, I think it'd be very fun. Like if this was Tactical Snakes and Ladders or Tactical Ludo, for example, I'm sure I'd be very, very into it. But because I don't understand Yutnori, I'm just like I can't engage in the game as much.
Yeah, it's see, this is another thing because this show is made in Korea. There's just some things where like we're not gonna get it. Like it's because I know this is a game that literally like I think they play as kids. Like they even reference in future seasons like, oh, we played Yatanori like as kids. This is like it's a game that everyone plays like on the schoolyard and stuff. So like we're not gonna understand it as in depth as like anyone that actually knows Korean or grew up in that area. But like it is a cool game in terms of like you pick someone to help you. So if you pick a partner that's really good and you're in the death match and you get to pick them, they can't refuse. So and I guess they could throw it, but like they're gonna be like I seems in Korean TV culture, I think you'd kind of be looked down upon if you threw a game. Like yeah, they're very polite to each other. Like I say like in a US reality show, people will be more cutthroat in that aspect. But I think people treat themselves they treat each other very well on this show, which like I think it's like I think it's a fresh look on things because like it doesn't have to be like toxic for it to be like entertaining in terms of like going against each other. Like if we could do it all like respectfully, like and still have the drama, like I think that's like the perfect recipe for actually TV show.
Well, I think the streaming structure for part, like so the way the show is filmed is really crucial here, because the show is not filmed all in one block like most reality shows would be. It's filmed 1 week at a time. They go once a week. So we recently discovered that it's on Fridays they went to film, at least for season 1. So they go and they film an episode, and they go home, and they go live their lives, and then they come back the next Friday to keep playing. So the fact they've got like this big week throughout the show gives them time to decompress and it just becomes a fun aspect of their lives as opposed to their entire life. Also, the show airs while the show is filming. So in season 1, episodes aired on a 4-week delay. So when the contestants went in to film episode 5, they had seen episode 1, which kind of helps keep people accountable. And it means that people aren't going to be too nasty to each other because they know my fellow opponents are going to see what I said.
Yeah, I think that's really fun because then they'll have interactions at the start. What's fun is at the start of the episodes they'll have interactions reacting to stuff that happened in the past week. So like if you watch this on a binge, it kind of like it's really nice because you're like, oh, this just happened like a couple weeks ago. Now they're talking about it, or a couple main matches ago, and there's always little like tidbits and like stuff that you can get from these small interactions they have with each other. Um, it's honestly it's very fun. So I think yeah, Indian poker is a pretty like it's a basic a betting game. I played it a couple times with my friends to get into it because it's like the ultimate bluff game, and it's like I kind of I'll be honest, I kind of prefer it to regular poker because it kind of just it works to my strong suits, which is bluffing. Have you played Indian poker before?
I played it once online because I played it in a mini. I think it is quite a fun, interesting game to play. I like it. I'm not a huge poker person, just because it's just something I just never grew up doing or never really got into. But Indian poker is something that I really enjoyed, and after playing Indian poker, I've kind of been like, you know what, maybe I do actually want to start playing poker. This is kind of fun.
So basically, poker can be fun, but it's not fun if you're playing with people that like are really good. You just have to play with like people that like work you in, ease you in, and then once you understand the rules, it's a fun time. Losing money is not fun, but I mean, winning money is fun. So that's the Genius. We talked a little bit of the structure, like the main match, the death match, the casting. You can find this show on so initially I watched the first season on YouTube, but the episodes have been removed. I find the episodes on the Genius subreddit. If you guys want to go scroll on there, usually you can find a link for every season. There's been 4 seasons. So the seasons, there's rules of the game. Then there's also it starts with rules of the game that ends with grand final. I say grand final would probably be like I'd say it's the all-star season, but they don't. It's not all-star in the sense as we know. It's just they brought back like some all-stars, and then they brought back. I guess it is all-stars like we know. They just brought like other people that like did like they didn't have their potential unlocked. What do you think about that?
They chose people that were noticeable to the franchise. They didn't pick, or not everyone there was necessarily like, it wasn't the 13 best players ever, even though most of them were the most solid players. But a couple of them, they'd pick memorable people and you'd be like, you know what? I know why you picked this person. There was always reason behind it. There was no one that felt like filler, even though they didn't all do the best on the season. I think it was a very well cast season, I would say.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. So just on that note, what was your favorite season of the show?
So this question's always tough because I always have 2 answers to it. I would say I think that the strongest season is season 4, but my favorite season is season 1 because the joy that I felt during season 1 watching it for the first time is just undeniable. It's probably the best reality television experience I've ever had. I've never been so excited watching something as I was watching the first season of that show. And even watching it for a second time recently, the same feelings have been coming back. I'm about halfway through the season now, and I'm seeing drama and it's like some small little arguments or some of those moments. There's one particular moment in season 1, I think you probably know which one I'm talking about. I don't want to reference it because I want people to experience organically. That I get chilled watching it, and every time I watch the clip, I still feel it.
The great thing about the show is the rewatchability is like it's great rewatchability. You can literally watch the same episode 3 times in a row and see 3 different like catch little things that happen that will change how you look at that main match and the dynamics that move forward. So like if you don't understand why there's animosity between these 2 people, you'll be like, oh, you keep on like watching the episodes and be like, okay, this little tidbit, oh, there's a slight disrespect here. Like it's great. I agree with you on this account. I personally think season 4 is the best season of the show in terms of the gameplay, but in terms of actually, I really like season 3. I know people aren't a big fan. Like I know it's not the most popular season out of the 4, but there's something about season 3 where in season 1 and 2. In season 2, they brought back a couple fan favorites from season 1, and it kind of gives me that structure where it's like, okay, like this is a great season, but it's just like I wanted to meet new characters. And season 3 kind of gave me a little bit of the same experience I got in season 1, but a little bit improved on the main match concept and on the death match concept because they've had 2 seasons to like get the nicks and crannies out. What do you think about that? What do you think of season 3? Without spoiling.
So I think of season 3 is the one I have the least memory of, but not in a bad way, because I remember season 1 and 4 very fondly. I remember season 2 because I remember my frustrations with season 2. So season 3 kind of falls in the middle. But I remember enjoying the season. It's the one, I think it's the one that I might be most excited to rewatch because I remember the least about it. And there's some things that I'm going to watch and it's going to bring back memories I don't have, which is great.
Well, that's the thing. It's the least one that, like, if you look at the online, like, talk about the Genius, season 3 is not really, like, talked about a lot. Like, just to get to the interdynamics of it, like, everyone has a reverence for season 1. I think it's because it's the initial season. And then everyone has a reverence for season 4 because it's, like, the last season. But, like, the middle seasons kind of get lost in the weeds. But there's, like, little intricate things that happen each of those seasons that, like, kind of make it more fun on a rewatch for me. So do you want to plug so you have a Genius podcast. Do you want to plug that?
Yes. So myself and my friend Naomi Calhoun, we were we were podcasted throughout the first season of the Genius Netherlands. And we've also now been going back to podcast about the original Korean version of the show. So we are currently, we're in the process of recording our way through it to ultimately then start releasing it.
How far have you guys gone so far? Are you guys still in season 1?
We're still in season 1, yes.
Ooh, halfway, near the end, or are you guys still at the start?
We're midway through season 1, then we're going to start releasing at some stage, but we're going to be recording for all 4 seasons.
Oh, interesting. That is fun. Yeah, when you get to season 3, I'd like to know your thoughts, because so I just had to check the airing stuff. So I guess, like, these shows, like, these seasons aired pretty close together. Like, it starts, so the airing of the first season starts April 26, 2013. And then the last season finishes September 12th, 2015. So it's all within, like, a 3-year, 2.5-year span that this show produced 4 seasons. So before we end this, I would just like to say, how do you think a show like this would work in North America?
I've gone back and forth on this. I don't know if it would be. I don't know if an American version would be good. I think it depends where it airs. I think European versions of the show would be solid. The Genius UK, make it happen, it would slap. I think other countries could do it. I don't know if the US could.
That's what I'm thinking. It's just like it's just a different type of TV. Like, it is a reality show and a game show, but it feels different. Like, do you know what I'm talking about? Like, it doesn't feel like, how does it? There's, like, a little bit griminess when it comes to North American television. Like, you can kind of, like, tell, like, some people are just there for clout, but, like, this is just, like, if you want a show that's just so, like, perfectly packed with strategy, social aspects, and, like, kind of learning a bit about Korean culture. Like, this is I'd say, like, this is also a really good show to get into if you just want to start watching shows from that region, because it kind of, like, gets you introduced to some people that, like, are frequently in different shows. Because in Korean TV, I don't know how well versed you are in Korean TV, but they like to, like, they have known figures and they like to, like, rotate them around different reality TV shows. And I think that gives, like, a little credence to, like, watching the other shows, because if you know someone, like, okay, I'm gonna check this out, it might be good. Like, this person's on it, so I like that as well. But I think we're about to wrap up here. You can follow me at Aljabiri23 on Twitter. Josh, what's your tweet? Tweets. what's your handle?
You can follow me at JoshyFLX on Twitter. And if you're curious about this podcast about the Genius, it is called Fighting. It appears on Silent Podcasts.
Yes. I will be. When are you guys releasing those?
We're undecided when. We're currently working our way through season 1, then we'll start releasing. So I imagine within some point in the next month or 2, and then once they start releasing, they'll be released on a weekly basis.
Ooh, okay. No, I like that. I'm gonna check that out, because I want to. I've actually been meaning to rewatch the show, because I hadn't rewatched the show in a while. So I want to watch it and see if I catch any of the things you guys talk about. So you can also follow. So Lone's gonna kill me if I don't mention this. You can also follow us at Physical Chal Pod. So the word physical and then Chal, so CHAL Pod POD. And I'm gonna be going on vacation for about 3 weeks or so. So Josh and Lone are going to be handling the podcasting duties. They'll probably be delving into what type of podcasts or shows do you think you guys are gonna be watching while I'm gone?
I think we're wanting to do like a really good look at endurance and of similar shows. So we're wanting to talk about endurance, maybe talk about Karma, which was the endurance reboot, and I'm sure there'll be something else in that realm we'll be free to talk about as well.
Okay, I'm sure they're gonna do a great job. This is me signing off. Bye.
Bye everyone.